The trading station orbited a forgotten moon, its corridors dim and reeking of recycled air. Commander Drake Harrison moved through the crowd with practiced efficiency, his gray uniform marking him as part of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. He had 3 hours before his ship departed, just enough time to resupply and leave this miserable outpost behind. That was when he saw her. She huddled in an alcove between 2 cargo containers, small and trembling. Her skin held a faint blue tint, and her eyes were too large for her face, marking her as non-human. She couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old by human standards. Blood matted the fur along her pointed ears, and her clothing was little more than rags. Drake stopped walking. The crowd flowed around him like water around a stone. No one else seemed to notice the child, or perhaps they simply chose not to. This station existed in the gray spaces between civilized sectors, where laws were suggestions and compassion was a liability. He approached slowly, keeping his hands visible. The girl's eyes tracked his movement with the wariness of a cornered animal. "Easy there," Drake said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't respond, but her breathing quickened. Up close, he could see more injuries. Burns on her arms, cuts across her shoulders, the kind of damage that spoke of deliberate cruelty rather than accidents. Drake crouched down to her level. "Do you understand me?" After a long moment, she gave the slightest nod. "Where are your parents?" Her expression crumpled, and that told him everything he needed to know. Drake felt something tighten in his chest. He had seen plenty of horrors during his 20 years in space, but abandoned children still hit differently. "Come on," he said, extending his hand. "You're coming with me." She stared at his palm like it might burn her. Drake waited, patient, until finally her small fingers wrapped around his. Her hand felt impossibly fragile, like holding a bird. Getting her aboard his ship required creative paperwork and calling in a favor from the dockmaster. Drake registered her as salvage, which made his stomach turn, but kept the bureaucrats from asking questions. By the time his vessel broke orbit, the girl was cleaned up and sitting in his quarters, wrapped in a thermal blanket that swallowed her whole. "I'm Drake," he said, offering her a ration bar. "What's your name?" "Lyra." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Lyra, that's a good name." Drake sat across from her, maintaining distance so she wouldn't feel trapped. "Can you tell me what happened?" She picked at the ration bar, not eating. "My world was destroyed. Pirates took the survivors. They sold everyone." Her large eyes lifted to meet his. "I was too small. No one wanted to buy me, so they left me there to die." Drake's jaw clenched. The galaxy was full of species, thousands of civilizations spanning countless worlds, and somehow sentient beings still found ways to be monsters to each other. "You're safe now," he said. "I give you my word." The journey back to Terran space took 3 weeks. During that time, Drake watched Lyra slowly emerge from her shell. She was curious about everything, asking endless questions about his ship, about humans, about Earth. He taught her basic Terran standard, though she already spoke the trade language well enough. She followed him everywhere, a silent shadow that gradually found her voice. When they reached Terra, Drake faced a choice. He could turn her over to refugee services, where she would be processed and placed in a facility with others who had lost everything. It was the proper procedure, the responsible thing to do. He looked at Lyra, who clutched his hand as they walked through the spaceport, her eyes wide with wonder at the gleaming towers and rushing crowds of humanity's capital world. Drake kept walking past the refugee center. The adoption process took 6 months. There were interviews, psychological evaluations, home inspections. The Terran government wanted to ensure he was capable of raising an alien child, especially one from a species they knew little about. Drake endured it all with military discipline, And finally, the documents came through, making Lyra legally his daughter. He retired from active service and took a position training new recruits at the academy. It meant stability, regular hours, a chance to actually raise a child instead of dragging her across the galaxy. Lyra thrived in ways that made his heart ache. She devoured books, excelled at mathematics, made friends with the other children in their residential district. But she also had nightmares. Drake would wake to her screams and find her tangled in sheets, crying for a family she would never see again. He held her through those nights, offering what comfort he could, knowing it would never be enough. Years passed like ships in transit. Lyra grew from a frightened child into a determined teenager. She maintained her curiosity about everything, but it was tempered now with focus. She wanted to be an engineer, she told Drake. She wanted to build ships that could save people the way he had saved her. Drake helped her apply to the Academy's engineering program, though his heart twisted at the thought of her leaving home. She was accepted with the highest marks in her entrance exams, the first of her species to attend the prestigious institution. On the day she moved into the Academy dormitories, Drake helped carry her belongings up 3 flights of stairs. Lyra had grown tall, nearly matching his height, her blue-tinted skin marked with the traditional tattoos of her lost people that she had painstakingly researched and applied herself. "Thank you," she said as they stood in her new room, surrounded by boxes. "For everything." Drake pulled her into a hug. "You never have to thank me." "Yes, I do." She pulled back, and her large eyes were bright with tears. "You gave me a life when everyone else decided I was worthless. You gave me a home, a name I chose for myself, a future." She wiped her face. "I know what you gave up for me. The promotions you turned down, the missions you refused because they would take you away too long. I know all of it, and I would do it again," Drake said firmly. Every single time. Lyra excelled at the academy, as he knew she would. She completed her degree in 3 years instead of 4. Her designs for improved shield generators earning recognition from the Fleet Engineering Corps. Companies offered her positions with generous salaries. Research facilities wanted her brilliance. She turned them all down. Instead, she joined the Terran Rescue Service, the branch of the fleet dedicated to humanitarian missions and disaster relief. Drake understood immediately. She remembered being the one who needed rescue, and now she would be the one doing the saving. 15 years after Drake found her bleeding in a forgotten corner of a lawless station, Captain Lyra Harrison commanded her own ship. The Sanctuary was a state-of-the-art rescue vessel equipped with the latest medical facilities and capable of responding to emergencies across multiple sectors. Drake stood on the observation deck of the orbital station, watching her ship depart for its first official mission. Pride swelled in his chest until it felt like his ribs might crack. His communicator chimed. Lyra's face appeared on the small screen, her expression serious in her new captain's uniform. "Reporting for duty, sir," she said. Then her formal demeanor broke into a smile. "How did I look?" "Like you were born for this," Drake replied honestly. "I was born for nothing," Lyra said quietly. "I was discarded garbage waiting to die in the dark. But someone decided I was worth saving. Someone showed me that one person can make a difference." Her voice strengthened. "Now it's my turn. We just received a distress call from a mining colony. Structural failure. Hundreds trapped. We're responding now." Drake nodded, his throat tight. "Stay safe out there. Always." Lyra's smile softened. "I love you, Dad. I love you too." The transmission ended. Drake watched the Sanctuary's engines flare bright as it jumped faster than light speed, carrying his daughter toward people who desperately needed help. People who, like Lyra once was, needed someone to prove that the universe contained more than cruelty and abandonment. He thought about that day 15 years ago, when he had been in a hurry and could have simply walked past one more tragedy in a galaxy full of them. How easy it would have been to look away, to tell himself it wasn't his problem, to leave her there like everyone else had. One choice, one moment of compassion, one decision to help when it would have been easier not to. And now Lyra would carry that forward, saving others the way she had been saved, proving that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons or its ships or its territory. It was the simple, stubborn refusal to leave someone behind. Drake smiled and turned away from the viewport, heading back to his office. He had new recruits to train, young officers who would one day make their own choices about what kind of people they wanted to be. He would make sure they understood that sometimes the most important mission was the one you gave yourself.